Good morning, good evening, and a good afternoon to viewers from all walks of life. This is Denzomos, and welcome to the channel of truth, enlightenment, freedom, and the channel Breaking Empath Free. For those that are just joining us, it's your first time here. I welcome you to join our community, join our tribe of empaths, like our page, share and subscribe. And of course, that's if narcissism resonates with you. This is a page of empaths, so if you're not an empath, it is not that kind of page that will definitely resonate with you, because on this page we talk about narcissism, and most of the empaths we have been through abusive relationships. So we come here as a community, we share ideas, we talk about healing, we talk about enlightenment, we talk about the next level. So we talk about different things, and if you're not an empath, it's not a page that will resonate with you. You may listen, you may like if you want, you may subscribe if you want to, but it's just a page of empaths, just to let you know. And then for those that have always been with me, you are welcome back, and I thank you for your continued love and support. Guys, in the comments below, I would like to know where you're watching from. I would like to know which city, which state, how is the weather, because as you can see here, guys, you can hear the birds everywhere. I wish I could show you around, but I just can't move with the camera. It's birds flying all over the place. It's quite a very beautiful place to be in the morning, you know. And I'm in a very good mood today as well. So I would like to thank all of you who joined us on Saturday. We had a very important subject we talked about. And we shared so many things there. I shared one of the biggest things I've usually anticipated to talk about before, which was the switch. Something that you might experience as an empath who is waking up from abuse. And we had a very nice discussion on Saturday. So I would like to say thank you for all of you who participated on that day, on that video. Today is a different download altogether, and I'm going to talk about the narcissist is not in charge. The narcissist is not in charge, and they're not in control of whatever is going on. Now, I know some of you are going to start with maybe Denzel, that's not true. They know what they are doing. They know what is this. They know what is that. I know that's what you're going to say, because I was in that position before, and I know for 150%, the narcissists, they are not in charge of what is going on, and they're not in control. Now, first of all, even before we dive in, I would like to tell you something, a very short story. During my entanglement situationship with the narcissist, I attempted leaving the narcissist around about 3-4 times. I attempted terminating this relationship, because it was at that point where I felt that there were some things that were beyond my control, and there were also some things that were beyond her control. So it's like when a situation whereby I was trying to tolerate somebody who didn't know how to control herself, who had no control of herself. So I was usually tolerating somebody who didn't have control of her own actions. And for 3 or 4 times, I contemplated leaving. Actually, I even attempted leaving the narcissist. I remember even some days I used to just pick up my bags and just decide to leave the partnership. And somehow I would look back, and in those days, I was trapped in those days, because in those days we had the kid. We had the kid on the way. We had the child on the way, and we had the baby on the way, if I can use the word like that. And at the same time, it's like my emotions I would believe that if I leave this individual, I would feel sorry for them, and I would not know how would life look like if I'd left their life altogether. So I was very confused in that situation, and I attempted 3 times to leave. But eventually, at the end of the day, we would sort things out, we would come back into that relationship, and we'd try again. Then the same thing would still happen again. It would still happen again. It would still happen again. And then I noticed that actually there was this pattern, very, very dangerous, difficult pattern, and I wouldn't understand where it was coming from. And the narcissist used to, whenever I would catch her in those kind of acts, you see most of the cases in the beginnings, we see these patterns, but we try to avoid them. We try to neglect the patterns. It is like God is showing us a glimpse of these individuals for who they truly are, but most of the time we try to ignore them, and we try to confuse, or even sometimes to to brainwash ourselves to believe that, okay, so there is still something something will change at some point. Something will change. Maybe the next day they're going to be better. The other day they're going to be better. They are going to change something. But at the end of the day, the patterns have just continuously gone on. And me personally, at one point, I knew that actually it was time for me to leave. And I attempted leaving this partnership 3 or 4 times, if I remember well. During the moments that I was attempting to leave the partnership, the narcissist would come back and apologize. She would explain to me, you know, sorry, I don't know what was going on. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't even know why I said this. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I did this. So most of the time, we ended up in apologies. I would get back into the partnership, and a couple of weeks later, the same thing would happen again. The same thing that actually would almost separate us in the beginning. It happened again, and it happened again, and it happened again. So there was a pattern that was going on. And at some point in time, I realized that actually the narcissist didn't have control of this. She did not have control over this, and she did not know how she had to do to correct things, because she kept on trying to correct everything. She would try. People, I know you may not want to hear this. I've been with a narcissist for 7 years. And I've seen the narcissist try. They will try. I've seen the narcissist try her level best to control and to see what was going on and to control the situation. But whenever she would try, it's like whenever she would even try, is the worse it would get. So this thing was out of her control, you know. So later on, when I awakened, I looked back in time. I looked back in the 7 years of this partnership, and I thought, how couldn't I have seen all this thing in the beginning? How couldn't I see this? You know, I was very, very angry at myself, you know. I was very angry at myself, and most of you people who are waking up, you can concur with me. There's a time that you actually think, you believe that you want to revenge this narcissist, because at that point in time you are extremely, extremely angry with yourself and angry at the narcissist altogether, and you're thinking, how did you allow yourself to get deep into this situation without actually realizing what exactly was going on? How did you get in deep, even in bed for that matter, with somebody who was very, very evil in the first place? If you can understand this person is evil, you would never want to sleep with an evil person, people. I can guarantee you this. If we would ever know that these individuals were evil, we would never allow ourselves to sleep with them from the beginning. It would not happen. So I wanted revenge in the beginning. And I thought, how can I revenge this person? Because I've spent all this time with the person who was not supposed to be with me. I've spent so many years wasting time. I've spent so much energy, finances. I've spent my everything, you know. I'd really invested a lot in this partnership. So basically, then I decided that, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to focus on healing, and we're going to see how things are going to go. So I put a lot of work in healing. I really put a lot of work in healing people. And that is even why one of the reasons why on my videos, I've always encouraged empaths. When you have left those individuals, don't look back and try to revenge them, destroy them, I don't know, whatever, torture them or this. Because those individuals, let me tell you something, people, they are already suffering. Those individuals, people, let me assure you, on each and every single day, they are going through torture. They are walking through karma. So you cannot think about looking back and revenging them, because they are already facing their karma on a daily basis. Something that you never knew, and something they should know from today, if you don't already. So basically, I kept on healing, and I got a very big revelation. I think it was a couple of months into my healing, I got a very big revelation. Those are the days when I was contemplating revenge. And there was a silent voice came to me, a very, very quiet, silent voice one particular evening, and that voice simply told me that actually you should let it go, and count yourself to be blessed. Number one, that you woke up, and secondly, count yourself that understand that this thing, it was not in your control. That's the second thing. And thirdly, this whole situation was not in the narcissist's control. So that is exactly what helped me to actually, that empowered me to completely let go of this situation. When I understood all these dynamics, what was going on in the background, I really released this whole situation and I let it go. And that is what actually propelled my healing to become the person I am today. So basically, the narcissists, they are under influence, people. For the most of you who are following my videos, you know why I'm talking like this. You very much know where I'm coming from. For the ones who are just joining this page, I know you may not understand this, but you may want to go back to my previous videos and you can understand where I'm coming from. These individuals, they are under demonic influence, and they have chose a path at some point in time, and they have reached a point of no return, and there's nothing they can do. They have chosen a path, and that path has led them to complete destruction, not only for themselves but also to the people around them, and they have no control over this. It does not matter what they do. The narcissist will wake up every morning hoping that they're going to have a beautiful day. They are hoping that they're going to have a beautiful relationship. You will see them even sometimes they are trying. They will try very hard to make this thing work. They will try, people. I've seen a narcissist try myself. But it does not matter what they do. They will try, and at the end of the day, things are going to go back to the way they were, and they're going to fall back in the same patterns. They are still going to abuse you. They are still going to break your hearts. They're still going to destroy you. That's how it works. There's nothing more. And there's nothing you can do about this. This is a demonic influence. It's something very spiritual, and you do not have control, and they do not have control over this. It does not matter how much, it does not matter who is what level of therapy they will go, what they will do, how much they will change. It does not matter what they are going to do. It can never happen that the narcissist will change. And most of the cases, that's why most of us as coaches, we usually encourage you to just let this whole thing go. You just let it go. You just, as an empath, just pick up the lessons. Understand that this thing, the whole thing was a lesson. It was just that there was lessons to be learned during this partnership. As me myself, I don't believe that I would ever discover that I was an empath if I hadn't met the narcissist. That was the only way God designed my journey for me, whereby I would sometime meet the narcissist, and all these funny things would happen, strange things would happen, and eventually I would discover that I was an empath, and even most importantly, eventually step into my purpose and become the person I am today. So I took this whole thing as a blessing, and that is what made me forgive the narcissist. I forgave the narcissist. I've never thought about doing some sort of revenge, hurting her, or doing these kind of things. I just focused on myself. I kept going, and I decided never to look back, and I just kept on moving forward. So this video is just to encourage the empaths out there. For the most of the empaths out there, I know you don't think like narcissists. You don't act like them. You don't think like them, and I know your hearts are very different from them. So I want to encourage you in this video. You have got to understand that these individuals, they're not in control. They are not in charge of what is going on. And if you come across this video, wherever it will be, maybe it will be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, depending on what the situation will be, I want to emphasize and I want to confirm to you that this is not in your control. This is a demonic influence. This is something they have chosen. They have chosen this path at some point, at an early point in their lives. They have chosen this path, the path of evil. And when you choose the path of evil, definitely you start working for the devil. There's no other way around it. When you choose the path of evil, you start working for the devil. And most of the cases, when you're working for the devil, you become the devil yourself. So this whole encounter has been a devil, an evil encounter, and definitely you have been dealing with the devil. So there's nothing wrong. There's nothing. What do they call it? There's nothing. There's no doubt about that. So, as an empath, you're a person of light, and you should focus on the days ahead. You should focus on healing. You should focus on understanding that this whole thing was a mess. It was messed up. There's nothing you could do. But at the end of the day, for the empaths who have awakened, you are also going to realize that actually this whole thing was part of your journey. The narcissist was part of your journey, because at the end of the day, many of you have discovered that you're empaths after actually getting involved with narcissists. And at the end of the day, you've started working on all these childhood traumas, all these traumas that have been following you all along. It's like there's been these patterns of traumas and all these kind of things that have been happening in your life. And at the end of the day, you have been able to start working on those things. Like me, what I've done particularly when I woke up, usually the first thing I started to do is to identify all these patterns during my life, from the time when I was a child. I started to identify all these patterns, and I started to change the narratives, and I started to understand that actually it was time for me now to start to live a better life. And I started to work on myself and to change everything about me to become the person I am today. And it's going to happen for you eventually. If you're an empath on this forum, it's going to happen to you eventually. Other than that, people, that's what I wanted to mention in this video. The narcissist is not in control. This is a demonic influence, and there's nothing you can do about it. And the narc as well, there's nothing they can do about it. So it's out of everybody's control. That's why you see nobody can fix them. There's no doctor, there's no amount of medication, there's no amount of therapy, there's no amount of advice, there's nothing you can do to a narcissist that can fix them. They could change a little bit of something, couple of days, couple of months, but at the end of the day, this is something very spiritual. It has got to be approached in a spiritual perspective, not in the medical or whatever it is. Otherwise, it has got to be approached in a spiritual perspective. If a narcissist has got to be helped, he has got to be helped spiritually. That's the only thing that's the only thing that has got to happen, and there's no other way around it. Other than that, people, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I always want to hear what you say. I always want to hear from you. I always want to hear. I read your comments, and I want to know your side of the story. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Other than that, people, I'll be back in touch with you. Much love and blessings, and I wish you a blessed rest of the week. Bless.